So just a couple things I wanted to share before we get into the conversation is just a little bit about AI and how that's affecting really shopping today. So the biggest shift that we've seen in consumer behavior is this huge rise in AR in AI searches. So Google now gives first position to real estate for its own AI summaries. ChatGPT accounts for 58% of monthly traffic on the top 9 websites. So if you look at that middle section in there where ChatGPT is in comparison with others, it's huge. And so AI is becoming the way that most traffic on the internet is happening. And so within these platforms, ChatGPT is the clear leader with like 800 million weekly active users. I mean, that's 13% of internet connected population using ChatGPT every week. So, I think when we talk about GDSN, I think most of us know it's a way to trade standardized data with our trading partners. And I think in this omni-channel world and multi-market, it matters more than ever right now. Our shoppers expect accuracy. The algorithms require structure behind the scenes about how data is being pulled in. AI is amplifying both good and bad data. So if you've got bad data, it's more visible. If you've got good data, it's great. It's a win-win for you. So, Gina, when you, from an enterprise perspective, when you joined Pepsi, what did the product launch data exchange look like?
Yeah, it's interesting reflecting on when I started to where we are today. It's just been a huge, huge change. When I started, I remember the new item innovations would happen via a form, filling out a form, sending an email, and the buyer's desks would have stacks of new item innovations and how quickly they got through it, going through the handwritten new innovations. It would take weeks, maybe months. Um, and some customers that were the more automated customers had macros in Excel that were very challenging to get the macros to work. But it was very, very manual and tedious. Any customers that had EDI, it was like a point-to-point connection with that customer, and it was time consuming, building the EDI, testing it, and it was different each time. So it was just a lot of time spent in that environment. But yeah, it was definitely challenging.
How many folks do you trade data with? Like how many?
So, um, probably in the hundreds, but most definitely more than that, because our goal is to share our content to everybody that wants it. So it's not just the customers. We share our content with multiple third-party content consumers who then share it with other customers. So it multiplies just by having it to one content consumer. It goes out to many additional customers. So we can be communicating to a distributor that communicates then to multiple customers as well. So it's just a lot.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody's getting the same data from the same source.
Yes, yes. So what do you think your recipients care the most about today?
Um, Definitely the quality of the content. It has to be accurate, right? And it's not just the customer, it's the consumer. The consumer expects every single time that they pick up a product, if they see it digitally, it has to match. If they don't see the content matching, then they lose faith in that product. And that's like the worst thing that we'd ever want, right? Is for the consumer not to have faith in the product.
If we think about getting data live, so from an idea to production, so Ray, maybe talk a little bit about how that works and how you think about what was the hardest thing about getting your first item live.
Well, we joined in December with Syndigo. So December 1st, we got our username and log on, and that's when we met the onboarding team and got started. And they kind of pointed me in the right direction. And it took about 30 days to go live, which was just me doing it. And I had a lot of help from the Syndigo team, the Syndigo webinar, or the Syndigo tutorials from Syndigo University, and my onboarding manager, Adam Owens. They were able to provide step-by-step kind of guides. So there's these videos, and you just watch them, and it tells you what to do. You pause it, and then you go to the platform, enter the information that it's telling you, just exactly how it's telling you to do it, and it's pretty step-by-step and user-friendly. We really didn't have uh, any delays in getting this done. But as far as what was most difficult about getting everything live, I would say the digital assets require more effort to input and name. There's a GS1 standard for naming images, and it just requires a little bit more attention to detail. And as kind of Gina was saying, that there's no more blur between or distinction between retail and e-com. I think getting this information in and having these high quality digital assets is important. And I was offline with Kate earlier, and she's saying, if these images aren't named properly, these recipients aren't going to know where they go in the system. And so for me, learning that new standardization was it took a little more effort and attention to detail than the rest of the attributes, I would say. But already when you have a GS1 barcode, a global trade identification number, the attributes that you have to enter to get those barcodes, a lot of that's already in a table, so you can kind of just copy and paste to the platform to create new items and publish to your recipients. But and even we're talking about Chat GPT. I use that a lot to come up with answers because like I said, it's like preparation instructions, just things you don't think about that you're going to need answers for, descriptions of your product. So, I uploaded my portfolio, and just, you're feeding the AI all this information about your company. And then I was able to just copy and paste what Syndigo is looking for in the Chat GPT, and then it would give me like an item description or instructions for basically everything I needed. And that's how I was pretty much able to add 20 products and have them published and live by myself in 30 days.
Yeah, that's a huge accomplishment. So it can feel big in the beginning when you're just getting started because you have to source some of the data, right? Like it's not all easily available. I'm glad you brought up the images because it doesn't surprise me that you said it can be a little bit challenging. Like I said, I work with a lot of our food service distributor partners and wholesale partners. There are some that they'll just reject it if it's not named correctly, so it pains all of us, right? Somebody's spending a lot of money to get these beautiful images created, and they try to send something over that's chocolatecake.jpg. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know if that's a closed case or it's an open case or it's like an item that should be like kind of the main product image. And with so many items for some of these folks and so many images, I mean, many of them want 4 or 5 images by item. It's just hard. So that's where this consistency is so critical. It takes a little bit to get it set up in the beginning and make sure, you've got it down. And, we try to help with validations in there. But we want you to leverage all of the digital assets you have and all the information you have and make sure you get it over to your partners really well. So maybe Gina, when we say AI ready data, what does that actually mean?
Well, it goes back to a long time ago when folks would say, garbage in, garbage out, right? If you don't have a good base, if your content is not accurate, it doesn't matter how good the AI tool is, it's just going to be serving up the information that you're providing, right? So it becomes even more important to have accurate information because one is you need that AI tool to discover your products, right? So when there's searches, if you don't have good content, um, accurate content, it's not going to be able to discover and serve up your products. And so we're going to be in an area where it's going to be even more important to have good content, to be able to tag your content, so the search tools, the AI tools can do their job to provide the consumer with what they're looking for.
I would was, let me tell you, I was very intimidated and nervous about this whole deal. When I onboarded, they had this kickoff meeting, and these guys are saying, "Oh, this is going to be a 3-month process," and all these things happening, and I was scared out of my mind. I was like, "What have I gotten myself into?" And I was pleasantly surprised to find that it was pretty straightforward. I see one of the questions in the audience from Janine asking me and Gina how many people we have in our department working on this. For me, that's myself. I have a partner in Australia who is the founder and creator of the brand, and he feeds me with a lot of the information that I need. But it was me sitting behind a computer for 15 hours at a time in these chunks, just data entry, like to the max. And so I did it all by myself, and in 30 days, literally it was January 1st, New Year's Day. Adam sends me a message. He says, "Hey Ray, congratulations, all your products. Your 20 global trade identification numbers are published," and that was amazing for me. So don't be intimidated. You can do it, and it's just it is possible. It's very time consuming. It's tedious.